90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box. Heard every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., right here on WHPC. Streaming at nccradio.org. If you'd like to make a comment or if you have a question for us, please give us a call, 516-572-7440. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is my brother Tim, award-winning sports writer Tim Leonard. Hello, brother Tim. How are you?
Good morning, brother. I'm outstanding as usual.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Crazy weekend. Crazy.
Crazy is right,
good.
man.
Crazy good.
Of course, the Final Four is going on. Or it's gone down to it was the Elite Eight. It's now down to the Final Four.
Yeah, we're down to the Final Four, brother.
And, you know, it was interesting as I put on the game on Saturday, or the channel, put on Channel 2, and they're doing Division 2. Division 2 playoffs. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I've done that in the past.
I never knew that even anyone cared about Division 2. Division 3 is even worse. So I was very impressed.
This time of year, people just want to watch good basketball, brother.
And I'm wondering, people are saying, oh, who are these teams? I bet on them. Are they part of my pool? You know, so I was. It was interesting to see that. But the Elite Eight is now the Final Four, which is a trademark thing of the NCAA. Matter of fact, I read a story on Brett Musburger, of all people. He's the one who came up with the Final Four. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was March Madness. He came up with that term, March Madness. And he was in the 80s, and he had actually gotten it from some car ad that he remembered as a kid. So it's kind of, always going back to Brett Musburger, it always seems sometimes. With the, no one thinks of him anymore, but he was.
Well, they don't think of him for that. But.
Well, there's a nice thing about Brett. He was the guy for a while.
Brent.
Brett.
Rhymes with rent.
Yes, yeah, Brent Musburger. Yes.
Yes, but good for him. The people these days remember him for perving on what's her name, AJ McCarron's current wife. Catherine Webb.
I don't think of that. I think of him as NFL Today. I think of him hanging out with Phyllis George and Jimmy the Greek and Irv Cross.
Your memories go further back than most people's, brother.
Well, he also did a lot of college football in his prime. Afterwards, after NFL Today, it sort of dumped everyone. And he went to ABC, and he wasn't even the first guy. He was the second guy. So he didn't seem to mind.
Yeah, Keith Jackson, because he had a job. That's all he cared about.
Right.
But and who's going to take Keith Jackson's spot? Man, he's on the Mount Rushmore of football announcers.
Right. So anyway, brother, we have. Is this the first time? You tell me. Is this the first time the Final Four does not have a number one ranked team for any of the divisions?
I don't know that for a fact. I know that when we had the Elite Eight with no one seeds, that was a first. But I'm not sure because I'm sure there were years where there was only one number one seed, and if that team lost, then the answer would be yes. So I'm not 100% sure as far as where we are with the seeds and what kind of history has been made here. But we're talking about a Final Four with a number 4 seed as the highest remaining seed. There's a 4, there's 2 number 5s and a number 9. And 2 of those schools are from Florida, which to me is almost as shocking as what's been going on in this tournament, because Florida teams are not, unless they were coached by Billy Donovan 15 or 20 years ago. Florida teams typically aren't basketball schools per se. This was another crazy weekend. We said it a couple of weeks ago before the tournament started. It was a wide open tournament, and it certainly has played out that way. So no. Wait a minute. As far as what we have left,
right?
I mean, wouldn't it be a kick in the head if Florida Atlantic won a national championship? I mean, they're 2 wins away from doing that, and I can't say that either team that they would have to face is unbeatable. I'm not looking at any matchup here and saying, well, yeah, they're a lock to get to the final. I mean, UConn or Miami, either one of those teams could get to the final. I don't see either team having such a massive advantage over the other. And San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, it's both two underdogs, even though San Diego State was a number 5 seed and Florida Atlantic was a number 9. And a lot of people, when the tournament seeds came out, thought that Florida Atlantic was underseeded and they should have been a higher seed. So I guess obviously they proved those people right. For me, one of the most stunning, because there were so many stunning things over the weekend, but UConn just destroying Gonzaga. Unbelievable to me. The second half, the first half it was pretty close. There was a few points at halftime, and then UConn went on this ridiculous run in the second half where all of a sudden they were up by 28 or 30 points. And it's like, what is going on here? Gonzaga, in theory, was the best team remaining. Even though Texas was a 2 seed and Gonzaga was a 3, to me, Gonzaga was the best team left. And they just got their butts handed to them in the second half by UConn, a UConn team that kind of underachieved this season. So right. As far as trying to predict what's going to happen with the rest of this tournament, I'm kind of done trying, because what's the point? Because nothing is going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. And in some ways, that's made this one of the more memorable NCAA tournaments. I mean, it started with Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue and we had the second 16 seed beating a 1. But typically by this point in the tournament, we're down to chalk. I'm not saying that every number 1 seed would be alive, but at least a couple of them would be, and maybe a 2 or maybe a 3. But I mean, this is nuts. A 4, 2 5s, and a 9. Where'd that come from?
Right.
It's absolutely. It's been just a chaotic tournament. But all of that being said, I can't say that there won't be a deserving champion by the time this gets done next week.
Wow, and it's just a really good. I like this kind of Final Four where no one was expected to be there really, and it gives it a little better view for college basketball instead of just having the same 7 teams or so to speak. So I'm very happy. Would Florida Athletic do it? I mean, that would be a fantastic ending, but I don't know. UConn looks pretty damn good too. So
my old roommate Dave Rosenbaum, he went to Florida Atlantic. He graduated, so he is of course rooting for the Owls, and every game they win, he just leaves the word hoot on my Facebook page.
Wow, okay.
And that's kind of funny. But they play a nice brand of basketball. They're an aggressive team. They play I was going to say something, but I can't say it. But they just play an all-out, relentless, foot on the gas pedal kind of style of play, and it's been working for them. So they're an entertaining team to watch. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of chaotic, but it's an interesting. It's been an interesting contrast to some of the other teams. One thing I did want to say is, with these 4 teams left, it kind of sums up what we're experiencing in college basketball these days for these last few years, with this transfer portal now firmly in place. And this is what we talked about a little bit with Coach Pitino going to St. John's, and we'll talk more about that in a little while. But this is why you can rebuild a program quickly now, is because the transfer portal allows you to do that. It allows you to bring in older, experienced players and immediately put them into your starting lineup. It's not like an 18-year-old freshman where you have to get him some experience and he needs to mature and get bigger. This way, you have a guy like this Marquise Noel from Kansas State, 23-year-old point guard from Harlem. What coach wouldn't love to add a 23-year-old New York point guard to his lineup?
But when does it get?
Not a coach in the country who wouldn't want.
Yeah, but when does it get to the point where there is an age difference and a performance difference and a maturity difference between a 18-year-old kid and a 23-year-old man?
Of course, that's what I'm saying. That's why.
Besides the fact that you can vote.
Right. Well, that's why coaches. That's why coaches are able to rebuild programs quickly, and that's why Coach Pitino said that getting St. John's back in the national picture. He says, and this I'm quoting, it's going to take months, not years. That's him speaking. That's not me saying.
Yeah, but
I still have my doubts, but if anybody can get it done, it's Coach Pitino.
Yeah, but that's part of his salesman routine,
It's worked everywhere he's been, brother.
I know that.
Iona made the tournament 3 out of 4 years he was there.
I know.
So I can't. If the guy gets Iona to the tournament every year, I can't fault him. He's going to get St. John's to the tournament somehow, some way.
I agree with that. I agree. I think Rick. We've mentioned this before. Rick Pitino is a positive thing for the St. John's or Redmond, Red Storm. Excuse me.
Yes.
I still call them the Redmond Tim.
Yep.
Still, like the Hofs are still Flying Dutchman.
They are.
So anyway, but I think. And as you said, the rule changes allow. This is like perfect. It's like Rick Pitino made the rules, and now he's using them. So
right. I mean, this is what I said last week. Everything that Pitino used to do, everything Pitino does that used to be illegal is now not illegal.
It's sort of
like they said, all right, Rick, do whatever you want to do.
It's
Here
like
you go.
It's like marijuana. You used to be able not to smoke it outside or anything, but now it's legal. You can smoke it.
No, nobody cares. They just want people who smoke marijuana to actually just be responsible about it, which really isn't asking a whole lot.
No, it isn't. That's the way it should be. It's just like drinking and driving. You don't want people drinking and smoking if they're going to drive 5 miles an hour. So,
yes, bro. So anyway, we're looking. I did want to point out though, brother. Jordan Miller, the one kid. I know you picked out your Arkansas guy last week, but Jordan Miller of Miami.
Devontae Davis, by the way.
Yes, brother. Jordan Miller of Miami went 7 for 7 from the field and 13 for 13 from the line. He took 20 shots against Texas and hit all of them. That's just unbelievable. And Miami had a ridiculous. I thought Texas was going to win that game going away, and Miami came back with this massive comeback. It came back I think it was 13 points down in the second half, and wound up winning the game by about 7 or 8. So, fantastic result from them. Happy for Coach Larinaga. He's a good man. He's now gone to the Final Four with 2 programs because he went with George Mason, remember, back in the day, and that was how he got the Miami job in the first place.
Right.
So now he's going back with the Hurricanes. They will face UConn. That is the second game on Saturday, and then we have Florida Atlantic against San Diego State. That game will tip off at 6:09 p.m. And then the UConn Miami game is scheduled to begin at 8:49. But we'll see what happens with that. It probably won't. But that's what we're looking at for next week with the national championship.
Well, it'd be interesting if they made it. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a school team, and school's supposed to be more important, but we know this isn't. It'd be nice if they did this Sunday night and then have the game on Tuesday. Just instead of Monday night. Sunday more people can watch it, and it becomes a bigger thing. Saturday night people don't watch things as much. Just naturally.
We're gonna watch this. It's Final Four.
Yeah, I know, but people go out on Saturday, so.
Yeah, but I mean, the first game for sure is early enough that people will watch it. I don't know about second game. Some people might stick around and watch and then go out after or whatever. But let's face it, the people who are going out probably aren't really big college basketball fans.
Yeah, but that's why you have it on a Sunday night, because Sunday night people are home and
Yeah, but they got to go to work the next day. So
yeah, so what? They have the Super Bowl. They have the Super Bowl that way.
Not a big deal.
So it's UConn, Miami, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic.
Yes.
Our friend Corey Tuck, Robin Marie's kid, went to UConn, and you were trying to feed him the information on Saturday at Nikki and Kevin's wedding. And he's like, "Don't tell me! Don't tell me!"
First he was, "Don't tell me," and then I asked him. I said, "Do you want to know the score?" And I guess he just gave up because I guess other people were telling him. And I told him, I said, I think I said something to the effect of, "You're going to really enjoy the second half if you get to watch the game."
Yeah, well, he wasn't taping it, though. I asked him, "Are you taping this?" Because sometimes people tape it, they don't want to know it, they want to watch it.
Nobody tapes anything anymore, brother.
Well, you know what I mean. It's a DVR thing, brother. You have a DVR on your cable box.
But you can't do that anymore. It's because the internet is just...
You stay away from the internet.
So part of everybody's life that you can't record anything, especially a sports event, and expect that nobody's going to tell you the score. You're not going to hear the score somewhere, especially in a big game like this.
It's easy. You just
and especially with
shut off your phone. You make sure your radio doesn't come on. You know?
What's that?
You shut off your phone. You make sure when you leave, your radio is not on. You get home, and you don't turn on. You don't put on ESPN.
Hundreds of people at the wedding, and most of them know that you went to UConn.
That's true.
Yeah, Nikki Tuck went to San Diego State, so that's true. They could meet in the finals.
That's true.
Two schools that our man Bob Tuck has paid tuition to could be in the final.
Well, Marie too. Don't forget Marie too.
Well, yeah,
but we know Bob much better. So.
Both of them.
Yes, both of them. So
Marie's probably the one writing the checks.
I'm sure.
Done.
I'm sure she is. So anyway, that'd be a cool thing. I personally think it's going to be. I think it's UConn, Florida Atlantic, and then that's a toss-up for me. So I'm not sure if who wins. I'd like to see Florida Atlantic win just because it's a great upset. But UConn, maybe they're due. UConn, is just as well known as for the women's program as the men's program. So
way more for the women's. But and the women are out. The women are out. The UConn women got beaten the other day,
which is hard to believe. They lost to Ohio State. Didn't even make the Elite Eight.
That's exactly true.
Yeah.
So I mean, when was the last time the UConn men advanced further in the tournament than the women? It's probably the last time UConn won a national championship.
Probably, yeah. But that's it's really a great basketball school. You don't think about it as much because it's UConn. It's so close by. But it hasn't dominated the New York media the way if this was St. John's. If St. John's was in the Final Four, this town would be
right. Well, I mean, UConn Storrs is not right around the corner, brother. It's a good 100 miles away, if not more.
Right. I know.
It's a drive, and it's in the middle of nowhere. So I can see why it doesn't dominate the New York media. But part of that is because the men's program hasn't been very good lately, and the women it's become such a part of the fabric of the sport that UConn's going to be good every year. That people kind of take it for granted by now. So this has been more of a story that they lost to Ohio State because it's so shocking that UConn isn't in the Elite Eight or the Final Four. I mean they're in those things every year. So shocker that they're not. Sure, Paige Bookers will be back next year, and UConn will be making another run at the national championship. But I still don't think anybody's going to beat South Carolina this year, even though I'll be rooting for my Maryland women tonight to knock them off.
Right. Well, I've said this before. I like the focus on the women for their version of, not legally called the Final Four, whatever they call it.
Let's call it that.
I'm surprised they haven't called it the Female Four.
Call it whatever they want to call it. Maybe they'll use that, brother. You better go out and trademark that in a hurry.
Well, I'm calling my lawyer right now.
There you go.
So we've basically covered the whole. Anything else we want to bring up before we switch topics, brother?
I mean, I'm just like I said. I've been enjoying the tournament. It's been crazy. It's been unpredictable. There was a feature story on Charles Barkley last night on 60 Minutes.
Saw it. Nice. Very good.
Good stuff. Good stuff from John Wertheim.
Very good stuff. I thought they've done the story before on Barkley, but this one's a little. They went back to his high school, so
they did a lot of good in-depth stuff, and it was some good behind the scenes kind of stuff. It was like about his daughter wasn't a very good basketball player, and that crushed him. But
she's a straight A player.
Well, you could brag about the fact that she was a straight A student and did really great in her schoolwork. And he says, was that as that had to be at least as satisfying as basketball. And Barkley looks at me and says, yeah, almost.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. He has one kid and Shaq has like 8.
Yeah. Well,
they're the opposite ends of that set, but they're very opposite in the way they do things too.
Kids cost money. Barkley wanted to save his money for gambling and fun and stuff.
And golf. By the way, brother, our sister Suzanne sent us a clip here. Concerning Tottenham, brother. I'm going to go do this.
We can talk about that later.
Are you sure you don't want to do it right now? Because I'm ready.
I mean, if you want to, if that's the subject you want to change, I'm more than happy to.
Yeah,
brother.
because
more than happy to address
it. This is your team, Tottenham. This isn't like Arsenal or
it's a horror show.
Everton.
It's a horror show what they're doing right now.
What it says that both That the coach left by mutual agreement. What's the coach's name again?
That would be Antonio Conte.
That's right. So
an outstanding manager. I mean, let me put it to you this way, brother. After Tottenham allowed 2 late goals against Southampton last week, and Southampton is literally in last place in the Premier League. Conte came into the media room after the game to do his interview, right, and just ripped everybody. Said the players were selfish. Said that there was a bad mentality at the team, and they haven't won anything in 20 years. And why is that? Because look at who's been the owners for 20 years. He ripped everybody.
So he wasn't going to stay around.
What's that?
He wasn't going to stay around. It was his way of saying goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, once the press conference was over, that was the speculation: is how can he stay after saying all this stuff? You don't rip your boss and expect to have a job. Well, this was a week ago, so I was kind of wondering why was he still there a week later? But I have to assume that it was because they were negotiating his exit. The whole mutually agreed upon whatever, that's nothing but a load of crap. Conte was fired, and I don't know how much money he got to leave, but I'm sure there was some sort of an exit package. What's his name? Christian Stellini will take over for the rest of the season. There's 10 games left. Tottenham is in 4th place right now. They're still a top 4 team.
Right.
They're going to have some work to do because Newcastle has a couple of games in hand and can overtake Tottenham for that 4th spot. The 4th spot is huge because that guarantees Champions League. And if Champions League means a lot of money for the club. And if you make that top 4, you get bonuses and bonus money from the Champions League, and that obviously will help you to bring in new players and better players. So by finishing in the top 4 as opposed to finishing 5th, that's a massive thing for a club. I don't know if Stellini is the right guy to get that done, but he's the guy who they're trusting to get them to that finish line. And then they'll see in the offseason what happened. Julian Nagelsmann just got fired from Bayern Munich, and of course Mauricio Pochettino, the former Tottenham manager, is still unemployed and hanging out after being a manager at Paris Saint-Germain for 2 years. So there are options, but one of the things that Conte said in his infamous press conference now was that Tottenham, the players don't deal with pressure, and management doesn't force them to deal with pressure, so they can't play under pressure, and all they do is recycle managers. Now, letting Conte go proves that what Conte said was correct, because it was 100% correct. So, what we're seeing here, and I hated to see it, was that Daniel Levy, the Tottenham chairman, proved Daniel Levy was correct. What he should have done was given Levy a 5 or 6 year extension and given him the checkbook and said, all right, good, rebuild it. Do what you got to do. Sign who you have to sign. Spend what you have to spend. And let's make it right. Let's go out and win something. And instead, he resorted to the same old tired tactics of, well, we'll just get a new manager and that'll fix things. Or, the Stellini's just going to be there for 10 games because he's Conte's guy. He's a Conte assistant, but he'll come in. Hopefully, he'll win some games. Hopefully, they'll play a little bit more attractive football because Tottenham fans want to see attacking football, and Conte's system is based on a counterattack. Stellini opened it up a little bit more, and the fans liked it a little bit more, but he won some games early and then lost a couple of bad losses before Conte, because Conte had surgery for I think it was his gallbladder. He missed about 5 games. So that's where we are. And okay, Ryan Mason is going to be the co-coach or whatever they're calling him, but he's a young guy out of the Tottenham Academy. He had to retire prematurely because of a fractured skull injury. He clashed of heads and he fractured his skull. It was a bad injury. But he's like 29 or 30 years old. He's basically Harry Kane's age, but he has already started in his managing career. And I think maybe they see him as a manager for the club down the road, but he's just going to get a little more experience on Stellini's shoulder, for the next couple months.
Good for him. when both sides say it's mutual, I never believe it. So,
No, I'm infuriated because right now the club is basically a laughing stock. There's just, they you can say, yes, do they spend the money? Yes, they spend money. They don't spend it in the right way. The recruiting is terrible. Some of the more expensive players who they have brought in, and I'm talking about Tanguy and Ndombele and Giovanni Lo Celso, and even Richarlison, who they brought in over the summer for $60 million, really hasn't done much of anything for Spurs. He's a forward and he scored 2 or 3 goals this season. Though the big money transfers that they make have been disastrous, and those are the transfers that are supposed to be locks. You bring in somebody for $60 million, £60 million. That person should be a star on your team. And instead, Richarlison's been on the bench most of the season because Tottenham already had a front three in place with Kane, Heung-min Son, and Kulusevski, and Richarlison hasn't been able to break into that, and Conte hasn't really rotated them very much. So I don't know what the answer is per se, but recruitment needs to be better. Money needs to be spent. I would love it if the current ownership would just sell the club and we could move on to a new era and just kind of start over again. Even though obviously we'd still have a great team in place. So I don't know. It's not a fun time to be a Tottenham fan right now, brother.
Maybe Uncle Stevie can take some of the money he has.
Oh, I would love it if Uncle Stevie would come in.
I don't know if he knows anything about baseball.
He'd be the first guy to admit that he doesn't know a damn thing about soccer. He'd find the best guy he could find, give him a couple $1 million, pounds, whatever, and say, "Go do it, get it done, get me a title." That's what he would tell the guy, and the guy whoever he would hire would know, I got to get this guy a title, or I'm not going to have a job very long.
There was an article, I thought I got it off of Huffington Post. I'm not sure. But it was about Uncle Stevie, and it was about how he ended up buying the team. He was a minority owner at first, and he talked about sitting in the upper decks and then going down and lower decks as the game moves on, which you and I have done, and all of our friends
Must
have
have been
done.
when he was a child.
Yeah, it was. And talk about going to polo grounds and stuff, and I forgot who wrote it, which scared me.
He's that old that he went to the polo grounds?
Yeah, he's like, well,
I don't think he's that old.
Well, maybe he mentioned his father going. I think it would mention his father going.
That probably was it. Polo grounds haven't been around for a long time.
Right, and also included his, his financial problems, we'll say, and they talked about how he took care of that and.
What problems? He's got $14 billion. That's not a problem.
Yeah, but a couple of years ago there was some problems and. They worked around it and stuff.
All right.
So it wasn't like Madoff stealing your money problems. Let's
not get into all of that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it was a very good article. It was a very good article, right at the beginning of the season. Major League Baseball starts this week. But first, brother, it's time to take a break. Give us a call, 516-572-7440. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC.
Okay. Go.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Tell me about a time you tried to get away with something, but you failed miserably.
I'm going to go first.
All right. No, you go, Otis. Go first.
So a few years ago, a colleague of mine was caught stealing office supplies from our workplace, thinking that no one would notice. One day, the office manager happened to catch them in the act and confronted them. Uh-oh. At first, the colleague denied the accusation and tried to brush it off as a misunderstanding. However, they eventually admitted to the theft. The colleague was fired from their job and lost the trust of their coworkers. Trying to get away with something dishonest can have serious consequences professionally.
Why are you reading off a script?
Because this was actually not my story. I went through Chat GPT.
Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. Yeah. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC. It's Big Ed inviting you to join me Mondays from 10 till noon for the Good Gold Show. We've got the greatest hits of all time, all your faves of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. A whole lot of fun, and we'll keep you informed. Plus, we'll take your requests and your dedications.
Playing favorites.
So join me Mondays from 10 till noon for Good Gold on 90.3 WHPC, available on the Odyssey, iHeart, and WHPC apps.
Come on, everybody. Let's sing along this group.
Say it! Show a little
Join me, Kim Tracy, for the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band every Sunday at 1 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC and with the iHeartRadio and TuneIn apps.
90.3 WHPC. From the press box here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Don't forget about Sports Talk. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And an additional airing of a different show, by the way, not a repeat, is on Tuesdays at 11 p.m. Also, brother, we wish our friend Ken Elsner happy birthday. Today is his birthday, or it's tomorrow. I forgot. It's been so long. But we got to see him. Our friend Bob and Marie's kid, Nikki, got married on Saturday. What a great party. I was hurting the next day, brother, from all the dancing and all the eating and
There's a lot of good lose. Real good party.
And,
had a great
some of the
time.
alcohol I might have had. My body was aching the next day. Ooh.
Well, you're not so young anymore, brother.
Yeah, well, I keep forgetting that. So
I hate to tell you, but you're not so young anymore.
Anyway, great party, and good luck to Nikki and Kevin. They seem like a good couple. And Kevin, I didn't realize this because I must have been getting food, but Kevin played guitar with the band, which I would like to see. We know there's video of it because video is everywhere. Video and cameras, it's like...
He's a Renaissance man.
Yes, he is. So congrats to them and congrats to Ken. We got a text from Phil out in South Carolina. Brother, guess who he's rooting for the NCAAs?
Phil Starros?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to go UConn. I didn't get this text, so I don't know.
I don't know. He you know what? It's Miami, I believe.
Tell us.
It's Miami. It's Miami.
What did the text say?
It says, listening from rainy Myrtle Beach. Sorry, Tim. Go Miami.
Go Miami. So there you go.
So
I don't know. What? Sorry me? What?
I don't know.
I don't know why sorry me. I don't know. I have no rooting interest in any of that. I'm just enjoying basketball and being shocked by some results. So
yeah.
I'm enjoying this tournament. I mean, before the tournament started, I said, hey, give me Houston and I'll take my chances. And obviously that didn't work out because none of the number one seeds worked out.
Right.
I should have known better that Houston wouldn't be able to get to the Final Four in Houston because, wow, what a massive advantage that would have been. But things like that rarely ever work out. So I should have known better. That's my own wishful thinking getting in the way.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good in a way. Anyway, baseball season starts this week, brother.
Thursday, brother.
Thursday.
Can't wait.
We like.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's it's going to be a great season for the New York Mets. $150 million or $5 billion over the stupid the salary cap. But it doesn't really matter. I think, unless someone else gets hurt, which I hope doesn't happen.
Yankees already got enough injuries, brother.
Yeah, I know.
They're starting the season off in a hole. Starting pitching is just getting decimated. By the way, Phil just texted me, brother. He said he's rooting for South Carolina tonight, being that he's in Myrtle Beach. That's against my Maryland women. So that's the women's tournament.
Okay.
He said, "Go South Carolina."
Oh, okay. Well,
for the record, I have no problem with South Carolina.
He also gave me the men thing on mine. So men on mine it says men, so it's in Miami. So.
Well, like I said, it's I got no problems with what Dawn Staley's doing down in South Carolina. She's doing great stuff. So good for her. If they win, I will wish them well and hope they win the tournament. But tonight, I'm hoping for an upset.
Yes, I agree.
We'd love to see the Maryland women get to the Final Four.
There'd be good things. So anyway, the Yankees are looking hurt all over the place, brother, as you said.
Let's talk about the positive first, brother. Got to talk about the positive.
Let's talk about the Mets.
Future.
The Mets.
Because the future is now, brother. The young man, he's a 21-year-old shortstop, and where have we heard this before? The 21-year-old shortstop
Derek
coming to the
Jeter.
major leagues to do damage. Now his name is Anthony Volpe. He's another kid born in New Jersey. He never did make the move to Michigan, which is probably a good thing. But Anthony Volpe is going to be the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees on Thursday afternoon. And I can't wait to see him because this kid is the goods. And he might not be everything that Derek Jeter was. And let's not compare him to a Hall of Famer who, save for one idiot from Boston, would have been a unanimous selection to the Hall of Fame. Let's not compare him to that because that's just unfair. If you're expecting Anthony Volpe to be Derek Jeter 2.0, how many players in baseball history have been Derek Jeter at any time? I will take Anthony Volpe doing what he does, which is occasional pop, which is base running. He's going to steal bases. He's going to electrify this offense in different ways than what Derek Jeter did. And don't be surprised if eventually Anthony Volpe is playing second base instead of shortstop, because the Yankees have a better prospect, Oswald Peraza, who is a better shortstop than Anthony Volpe is. So that kid will be up shortly, but that's what we're dealing with. Is the youth movement for the Yankees is here, and we're watching it as it happens, and I am excited. I am very excited, and Volpe he's a top 5 prospect in all of baseball.
Okay.
And this is where we are. And we got the other kid, like I said, Oswald. I think I don't know if I said his name right. Oswald Peraza, who is the better shortstop defensively, and he is another guy who I can't wait to see. That's going to be the Yankees' middle infield for probably the next 10 years. Are those two kids, and I'm more than happy with that. There's no need to go out and sign Francisco Lindor for $300 and something million. We're good. We're good for the next 5 years with these two kids making the major league minimum, or whatever deal the Yankees work out to pay them. Maybe we'll make one of those Atlanta Braves deals where we get 8 years and pay them $50-something million and get the biggest bargain in sports.
Well, that could happen.
The future is now, brother.
For the Yankees.
For the Yankees.
Okay.
Volpe is 21. Peraza is 22. And these kids, in the old days for the Yankees, these kids would be at AAA for at least another year or two, because the Yankees always hated bringing up prospects until Jeter. Jeter was one of the guys who broke through that glass ceiling, so to speak, because of his youth. And they said, hey, we got, we need a shortstop because what's his name? Tony Fernandez got hurt. He broke his arm. And let's bring Jeter up and see what he can do. And from just about the very first day, Jeter showed he belonged. And Joe Torre manager, Joe Torre was like, hey, there's nothing wrong with this kid. We don't need Tony Fernandez. Let's just give this kid the job and let him play his game.
Well, that was such great timing, brother. If you think about Torre's first year as a Yankee manager, you have Jeter's first full season as a Yankee. The connection there was immediate. And they both believed in each other, and that just was incredible. If you look back at how you normally don't get that type of, respect for each person from, basically a rookie, and even, Joe Torre, even though he was a manager before, he was almost considered a rookie because he'd walked away from being manager for a while. He was an announcer, and everyone didn't think he was going to be a good manager. Clueless Joe, the Daily News. So. So I think both of them coming on the team at the same time really, helped the team. They both believed in each other. Well, spread out.
Jeter, you couldn't deny the talent was there.
Right.
That he showed it in camp. He showed that could they have sent him back down to AAA? Sure, they could have, but they needed a shortstop, and this kid showed that he belonged, and he showed he had the mentality, and that's why Volpe gets compared to Jeter. They were both first round picks, but it's the mentality that Volpe brings, and people say he acts way older than what he is. He's 21. He's a kid, but he looks the role. And when you look at this kid and when you see what he does everything the right way. He is a guy who is going to energize this lineup by doing things like everybody said in the offseason, we gotta go out and sign a leadoff hitter. We need a guy who's going to run the bases. Well, you know what? He's that guy. And he might be here a little bit ahead of schedule, and there's maybe going to be some growing pains in the first few months. But this kid has, in every level he's been at, he's been able to figure it out quickly.
Right.
So
right.
if there is a slow start, and it wouldn't surprise me because again he's 21, but if there is a slow start, he's going to have it figured out by June. So I'm not going to be too harsh on him early. I'm not going to, if he has a slow start, I'm not going to be one of these knee-jerk people saying, we got to send him down. What's he doing? He's killing the team. No, just let him play. He'll figure it out, and he'll get better, and he'll do what he's supposed to do. That's what this kid's makeup is all about. So I have no concerns at all about Volpe being the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees. None.
Okay, well, I agree with you. I think, there is a great history of, Yankee shortstops, too. So, going back to Rizzuto. So there's a little bit of pressure sometimes to be a Yankee shortstop.
There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure
Yankee
to be a
center
Yankee shortstop,
fielder.
especially after, yes, have there been shortstops after Derek Jeter? Of course there have been. But that's the guy you're going to get compared to. And when, like I said, when the guy you're being compared to was one vote short of being unanimous selection to the Hall of Fame, who can live up to that?
No one. And
it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous standard, but that's the standard now.
Right. And and also the other thing was that, Jeter is a good guy. We still haven't heard any bad stories about him. Occasionally you do, but not the ones you'd expect. And you know what? He's now sort of working for the Yankees again, right? Or some sort of advisor, or is he? Okay, maybe he isn't. But he's not with the Marlins anymore. So
no, he's definitely not with the Marlins. He sold his minority ownership with the Marlins. I know he's been doing some work with the Yankees. He's doing some work for, I think, Fox Sports.
Yeah, he'll be.
He's kind of around and about, and I think he's just kind of looking for his next role. But
you know
in the
what?
meantime, he's going to do a few things.
He could be at the first game in a box somewhere, and the cameras are going to be shooting him while
of course,
doing the comparison thing. So it's good for Volpe. I mean, that's a great thing, and I'm not sure how the Yankees are going to do. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I'm not sure if they're going to win the division, but I think they'll be in the playoffs.
Injuries are going to be a big part because, I said when the Yankees signed Carlos Rodon that his problem was injuries. He's hurt. He's already hurt. It's not a big injury. He's got some kind of an oblique thing. He's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks to start the season. He's going to miss probably 2 or 3 starts, but he'll be back, mid-April or so. Luis Severino just strained a lat. He's out for at least a couple of weeks. So he's probably going to be a week after Rodon comes back. And obviously Frankie Montas had the surgery, so he's done until September, if not the entire season.
Right.
Knowing the Yankees, I don't think they'll bring him back in September. I think they'll just say, look, take the whole year off. But it's a problem already. I mean, this is a couple of big injuries. And the only good thing about the early part of the season is there's extra days off. And teams kind of, don't necessarily need all 5 starters.
Right.
So that kind of helps a little bit. But you don't like to start the season with this many injuries.
No, but it's better to have it at the beginning of the season than in the middle of the season. So I guess it's the best way to look at it. Let's talk about the Mets. We're already missing, no Timmy Trumpets this year, brother. It's sadness. But a lot of things happening with the Mets. They have Justin Verlander. They have Max Scherzer. That's 2. You have to consider them 2 of the top 10 pitchers right now in the league, even if their age is a little bit higher than maybe you'd want it to be.
Even if they're old.
Yeah, they're still considered leaders, and they're still considered decent pitchers still. So that's a good thing. Brandon Nimmo will be around. He'll be hopefully around this week. They said he would be. We haven't heard anything yet. We'll probably hear it on opening day. And, you got Pete Alonso. You got a lot of Pete. Octavio, Ottavino, I should say.
Ottavino, brother. Yeah, the bullpen.
Oh, yeah.
The bullpen for the Mets right now, for me, is a mess. There's a bunch of guys out there that whose names I don't know, who I don't have any faith in or trust in. And apparently, I think David Robertson is going to become the main closer, kind of in the de facto sense. But Ottavino probably will get some save opportunities. I think Buck will probably do something like a committee. But that being said, I think Robertson probably will get the majority of the save opportunities early. And if he gets the job done, then he'll wind up as the closer. But who are these guys for the Mets? Dennis Santana, Steven Nogasek, John Curtis, Tommy Hunter, Brooks Raley. Who are these guys? I don't know any of their names.
I don't either, brother. So I do worry about this. And
it's a concern, and it's something. And I hate to say this, as much money as your boy Uncle Stevie spent in the offseason, but the Mets really didn't do a whole lot to address their bullpen.
No,
yes, they signed Robertson to a 1-year deal. They signed Ottavino, but there are so many guys here who you don't know who they are. And with Diaz, with Edwin Diaz getting hurt, and he's going to miss the entire season, like you said, that moves up everybody. Everybody moves up an inning. So, if you have Robertson in the 9th and Ottavino in the 8th, well, who's pitching the 7th and maybe the 6th? I don't have, out of that list of 6 guys, it makes me nervous. I don't know where the outs are coming from before you get to Ottavino and Robertson, who, let's face it, both of those guys are pretty good, but neither one of them is lights out anymore.
No, but if the bullpen doesn't work, you know who I think they bring in, brother?
Who?
Come on.
He's retired, brother.
Well,
put his paperwork in. Stop with the annoying fantasy. It's not happening.
Hey, you play fantasy baseball every week. I mean, talk about fantasy.
He's done. He's done, brother. My fantasy baseball league revolves around real players, real unretired players.
Well, I don't know.
Real active players.
You're not allowed to bring a player from like 10 years ago? That would make it interesting.
No, brother. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Otherwise, everybody would bring up Mickey Mantle. They wouldn't bring up Bartolo Colon.
That would be fun.
You would be the only person to bring up Bartolo Colon.
Well, I wouldn't bring up Bartolo. I'd bring up Tom Seaver.
Well, see, not even you would bring up Bartolo.
No,
Colon.
I wouldn't.
So
not in that type of situation.
But let's stop mentioning his name on the show.
I loved saying it because your face just cringes. By the way,
for those reason.
For those who know, Tim's on Zoom today. He's not feeling that great. But you look like, brother, you look like Cousin Kevin today.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I know, because my neck
and your hat.
And I got the hat on, too, like Kevin likes to wear hats.
Yeah, so you look like Cousin Kevin.
I definitely saw the resemblance. I got to lose some weight.
Yeah, well.
No offense, cuz.
No offense, cuz. Anyway, quickly, as we're running out of time, Willis Reed died at 80 years old, which explains that his health was not doing good lately, which explains why he wasn't at the 72-73 tribute about a month ago. He was the captain. He was the guy. No one called him anything else but captain. I don't know if it was Frazier or Bradley said, I think it was Frazier. He says, I don't remember a time when we always called him captain.
Yeah.
And
that's the ultimate respect for a player.
Yeah, and he was the guy. I mean, 69-70 team, Game 7 against the Lakers. Here comes Willis. Or here comes Reed. I forgot what
Here comes Willis, brother. It was Willis.
And he scores the first 4 points of the game. Didn't score anything else for the rest of the game. They end up beating the Lakers. Now, who had the best game of his life that day was Clyde. Well, Frazier, 36 points, 19 assists. I think it was 7 steals. But everyone remembers,
it's called the Willis Reed game.
You're right, and when they
I'll be honest, because I've heard this with my own ears. Clyde's not all that happy about it.
No, he's gotten better with it. He's gotten better with it because
he's happy they won.
Right.
He's happy that Willis gets the adulation, but he is not happy that what likely was the greatest game of his professional career is called the Willis Reed game.
That's right, because
36 points and 19 assists. That anybody else in a Game 7 situation would be sainted for that game, and instead it's the Willis Reed game.
Right, and one thing about that game, he could barely jump. His first 2 points, or first 4 points he got, the 2 baskets, he barely jumped.
Yeah, Willis was dragging his leg around. But he had a torn quad or whatever it was. He literally dragged his leg up and down the court,
right,
limping the whole time, and tried to body up Wilt Chamberlain, which back then wasn't an easy task with 2 good legs, and he played 27 minutes, which is barely half a game. But it was the fact that he came out on the court and the Garden just erupted.
Yeah, no one knew that he was going to come out. He'd been wrapped up. The Knick players obviously knew he's been wrapped up and he'd been given some shots. But there was no guarantee that he was going to come out because he had to adjust to being wrapped up that much. So
he had a really bad injury that if it wasn't a Game 7, obviously a title on the line, he would not have played that game. In fact, he probably would have been out for at least a few weeks, if not more than a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, because that was an injury that should have required surgery. That's how bad it was. So he comes out and he said it later in life. He said, I didn't want to have to wonder years later what would have happened if I would have tried to play.
Right.
Which nowadays is the complete opposite. Nowadays is, I have to preserve my career. I don't want to play when I'm hurt. But that was the mentality back then, was I need to try to play because who knows what might happen if I don't. And like you said, he scored those first 2 baskets. The Garden just kept going nuts because it was like they knew how badly hurt he was, and the fact that he was able to come in, do something, and kind of show the team, hey, I'm dying in pain here. I am hurting, but here I am scoring a couple of baskets, and we need to win this game.
Yep.
And the Knicks wound up blowing out the Lakers, and that was one of the reasons why Reed only had to play 27 minutes, because Red Holzman got him out of there. And why have him play that much more if he doesn't have to? If the Knicks are up by 20, why does Willis Reed need to be in the game?
No, I agree. And it's one of the great games in New York history. It's one of the great games in the NBA. It's just a game. And plus, the thing about Willis Reed that you forget about, he was like 6'10". He wasn't 7'2" or 7'1".
More like 6'9", brother.
Well, he was more like 6'9", but I think he was listed at 6'10". But there were other centers like him who were short, considering today's centers. So it's you remember how much he would be under the basket, just really trying to push away a guy like Chamberlain or someone like or Wes Unseld or someone. There were battles, and he was one of those guys, man.
Right. Willis was a broad guy. He was a big guy. He wasn't necessarily the height of some centers, but he was a big, strong man. And that was back in the day in the NBA when you needed to be a big, strong man to play under the basket.
Yep.
Willis Reed in his career, and I don't know how many people realize this, he averaged 18.7 points and 12.9 rebounds per game.
Incredible.
Nowadays, that gets you a supermax contract. Willis Reed would be making $50-something million a year if he was in today's NBA putting up numbers like that.
I know, and he also is the general manager and then coach of the New Jersey Nets. Though it wasn't at the best point of the New Jersey Nets' career, or well,
he didn't coach. He didn't coach the Nets. He coached the Knicks for a little while, and then he coached at Creighton. But he worked in the Nets front office. He was a GM and then the senior vice president. He never coached.
Oh, okay. I was confused about
that. I know of anyway, unless it was like for a game if somebody got suspended or something.
Okay, well.
But he also the Knicks retired Willis Reed's number 19 in 1976. And Willis made it to the Hall of Fame in 1982.
Right.
So a great and I want to say this: a great man. Never mind player. Great man. He was just an outstanding human being. I dealt with him a few times, working the Nets beat, and people. I judge people by how do they deal with reporters who they don't know. Because a lot of times you get brushed off, or it's like, I don't have time. I don't know you. Why do I need to talk to you? Willis Reed couldn't have been nicer. He was always, what do you need? What can I do? And you appreciate that when you're just coming in, for one day or one practice or whatever, and he's willing to be that helpful and give you his time.
Right. Well, that's good, brother. Just a reminder, Everything and Anything every Friday at 6 p.m., hosted by our friend Steve Mandracina. He plays the lost hits and misses from the rock era, along with hits from obscure artists and forgotten songs by rock and roll superstars. That's Everything and Anything every Friday at 6 p.m. right here on 90.3 WHPC. And your WHPC weather forecast powered by Pantano's Gourmet in Hewlett, Uniondale, and Garden City Park. This afternoon will be high about 50. Tonight, I should say. It gets a little lower. It's going to be about 40 degrees. It'll be partly cloudy. This afternoon it should be sunny. And currently, right now at Nassau Community College on 90.3 WHPC, it is about 42 degrees. So keep on listening to 90.3 WHPC because Big Ed is coming up next, as he always does every Monday. Good Gold Show. Not the Bad Gold Show. That's another show, another station. He is the Good Gold. Remember that. Brother, good show. Anything?
Thank you, brother. By the way, Big Ed told me he's very, very happy about Mecole Hardman coming to the Jets.
He is. Well, Ed's a huge football fan. So anyway, thank you, brother. Good talking to you, and I'll talk to you during the day. And Big Ed's coming up next. Take care, and bye-bye.
The views expressed on air are not necessarily those of WHPC, its management, or Nassau Community College. Responsible opposing viewpoints will be considered by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu or by mail at WHPC 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York 11530. Thanks for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.